Today, we are feeling a bit nostalgic over here at Boardvengers. We are doing a video on games that are 10 plus years old that we still enjoy today. Now, too often in this hobby, we get caught up in cult of the new, right? We got to know what the newest game is, the newest release is. And we thought it'd be fun to kind of look back a little bit and talk about games that we really enjoy that are a bit older. So the first one I want to talk about personally is probably the game that got me into modern day board gaming, right? My group loved to play Dungeons and Dragons. It was one of our favorite things to do. And one of my best friends said, well, let's translate that into board games. And we started getting into Lords of Waterdeep. Now, it's basically, a D&D based game where you're a masked lord of Waterdeep, and through agents that you're recruiting, you go on questing, you earn influence, you can help and hurt your the fellow players at the table, and basically worker placement, right? Part of a set collection, I guess, also as well. This was, to me, the game that introduced me into modern board gaming, like I said, and it really kind of opened up my eyes to everything that could be possible with board games. And I'm still appreciative of it today. There's a lot of new games that probably do things better than it now, but it's still one of those games that still gets to our table. It's still fun to play. It's still enjoyable. We love the theme and everything about it. So for me, Lords of Waterdeep is one of my favorite games of all time, but it's not my favorite 10-year-old game. I'll get into that in a second. But before I do, let's go see what Professor Meg has to say.
Hello gamers, it's Professor Meng here, and when I think about games that are at least 10 years old, it makes me really nostalgic. I started playing games back in 2009. I started with Pokemon, the TCG, and I was a Pokemon judge, and then I started playing Magic, and I started working at a game store. And once I was working there, I started reading comics, and I also started playing board games. My first board game I ever played was this absolute beauty right here, Arkham Horror. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. Some of my favorite games that are at least 10 years old are on this table, but one of my absolute favorite games that I think still holds up today is Small World. This is not the base game of Small World. I actually don't have that, but I do have Underground. And Small World is... it is a wonderful area control game. It's made by Days of Wonder, and they make other great titles like Ticket to Ride and Five Tribes. But Small World, you are playing as different factions, and with each faction you get a certain number of tiles that you can use to control different areas. And the whole point of the game is that you're just trying to get as much gold as possible from having both control and then using different special powers along the way. One of my favorite things is that you retire these factions and then you get to play brand new ones, and the way you get them is there are different races and different traits, and they're shuffled every time, so it's always a different combination that, as someone who loves fantasy and different creatures and different abilities, I really love the variety in it. It's very replayable. I really love this game. If you check out any that are on this table or any that are recommended, I say definitely check out Small World. You won't be disappointed.
My favorite game that's at least 10 years old is probably one of the games that helped get me into solo gaming, right? I love solo board gaming. I love everything about it. And it's not the game, but it's one of the ones that really kind of pushed it to the next level. And that is Haplomachus, The Lost Cities by Chip Theory Games. I adore this game. I'm happy that they're remaking it, and I'm excited for it, but I'll still probably play the original, right? I'll still play the original. I think it's such a clever and interesting design with the poker chips, with all the dice. And it's kind of interesting looking back a little bit. And this is one of my favorite things to do with older games, especially for publishers that are still around, right? It's interesting seeing where they started and where they are now. And when you think Chip Theory Games, a lot of people think, super hard, difficult games, right? Really heavy games with some luck. This is a much more basic version of that game. And it's kind of exciting to go back to it because, I don't always want a brain burner, right? I just want a game where I'm taking poker chips, right? I'm a hero and I have my little army and I'm playing in an arena, right? And I'm fighting different cities in this arena, and it's different challenges, and the AI movement's really smooth and really easy. It plays really well. And I'm going along, and they only have a couple special abilities I need to worry about. So it's not like modern games where there's all these keywords or everything, right? It's only a few. And I'm just going there and I'm chucking some dice and I'm hoping to land some hits. And that's it. That's the whole basis of the game. And there's something nice about that. There's something comforting about that, where I can go back to this game that I truly love, and I haven't played it for a month or two, but I could pick it right up, right? Because the rules are pretty straightforward. I might have to look up a few keywords, but it's really, really fun. It's one of my, again, like I said, favorite games of all time. I'm happy that they're remaking it. but I think that the original will always have a place on my shelf. So before we get here, though, one more person we got to hear from. Board Game Critic, take it away.
Hey you guys, this is the Board Game Critic here. Welcome back to my messy workshop. It is definitely time to clean, but I will get to that eventually. I wanted to bring to you a game that is 10 years old. It is having its 10-year anniversary this year, which is awesome. That game is Escape, I believe. Yep, by Queen Games. This is one of my favorite games to play in a game night, especially if we have low energy happening. So it's oftentimes a warm-up game or kind of like this middle roll in order to get more energy for a longer game after it. In Escape, you are all members of an exploration team. You've gone into this Aztec temple, you've gathered treasure and artifacts, and you've gathered them at your depot, and the temple awakens. It turns, it's enraged by your looting of the temple, and it locks you in and scrambles itself up. So, in order to get out, you have to find the altars where you took the gems from, and you have to return the gems to those altars in order to find the exit and then escape. The trick is you have 10 minutes to do this. It is on a soundtrack that you cannot accelerate or pause or anything. You have 10 minutes. So the game is always a defined length, which is so nice. You know exactly when you can fit it in. There's no hum-hawing about how fast people will play because everyone is playing simultaneously, no turns. There's rapid dice rolling and mayhem and screaming at each other. I love it. And so here's a little bit about how the game goes. Basically, you have a stack of room tiles. You all start in the middle safe room, and you roll your dice. In order to add a room, you have to roll 2 running guys. Then you open up a new room, and you can't go there until you also roll the move-in requirements. Once you find an altar, everybody in that room has to show the number of die faces indicated. So if it's 4 torches, then collectively you all have to be able to roll 4 torches. And once you do that, you're able to take a gem from the depot and put it back. Now, the exit room is in the bottom 4 tiles of the stack, so you need to explore a decent amount of the temple before you even have the possibility of getting out. Once you find the exit, you are on your own. Individually, you have to roll as many keys as there are gems in the gem depot +1. So you can find the exit early, but if you haven't replaced the gems, you are not going to be let out. There are a few things that I love about this game. It's a 5-player game, which means it gets over that hump of 4 players. It's pretty versatile that way. It plays in exactly 10 minutes. You know exactly what you have time for, and I love that about it. Next is it's frantic fun, and honestly, it gets my heart pumping more than any other game. I mean, the anxiety and the tense moments in this game are just awesome. Your dice can get locked out to where you can't do anything. You have to call for help and somebody's coming back, and meanwhile that gong sounds and you have to get back to the safe room. Sometimes you just have to leave someone up to dry and just say, sorry, it's more important that I get back to the safe room than risk us both losing a die. It is frantic, awesome, fun. It has stayed in our collection for a very long time and still gets a really great amount of play. So cooperative, dice rolling, madness, awesome, love Escape. Back to you.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you could do me a huge favor before you leave, scroll down a little bit, hit the like button, hit subscribe. It really helps us out. But the most important thing is this is not a one-way conversation. In the comments, I want to hear what your favorite game is that's 10 years old or about, right? It doesn't have to be exact. But if it's about 10 years old or more, put it down in the comments. You know, what game to you still holds up to this day that you still enjoy playing, that you'll get to the table, you know, semi-often, right? Often enough. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your games. And thank you for taking time to watch this.